In a world where the Marvel superheroes are basically analogs of DC, what is the story behind the Power Princess? This is the Comicstorian channel where I take some of your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read them dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Today we're going to be continuing our Heroes Reborn coverage with issue 6 and an issue involving Night-Gwen. To let you understand what's going on, somebody, most likely Mephisto, has completely changed the Marvel Universe. By removing Steve Rogers from the equation, there are no Avengers. Instead, we have the Squadron Supreme, which is basically Marvel's version of the Justice League. We have a Superman known as Hyperion, we have a Batman known as Nighthawk, we have a Wonder Woman known as Power Princess. And the way that these stories have been structured is we get an early story explaining the origins of one of these members of the Justice League, and then we find out how the Avengers are getting their memories back and fixing the situations. So today we're going to do Heroes Reborn 6, which is going to tell you a little bit of Power Princess's history, and then continue our story of the Avengers reforming and making themselves known. We're then going to tell you a side story of where Spider-Gwen is in this universe. Spoilers, she's turned into Batgirl, and that's the story we're going to tell. She's Night-Gwen. Alright, so let's get into Heroes Reborn 6. If this is your first video in the series, click the link down below to see all of the Heroes Reborn videos and get caught up entirely before watching this one. The All-Gog slams his fist into the ground, stating, "Odin tasted like beard and sour mead. The one with the pretty horns was a foul brew of black magic and Jotun's blood. Didn't sit well. The rest tasted like a great deal of nothing. What do you suppose you'll taste like?" And as the All-Gog begins to swallow his prey, he spits them back out laughing. "Ha ha ha ha! Soft and sweet, figured, just like a princess, and I've devoured plenty of them." Power Princess stands back up, wiping the blood and spit from her face. "No, and I can promise you that you've never known a princess quite like me." And she was right. Power Princess came from an island of women who could drink anyone under the table. No matter who they are or where in the heavens or netherworld they sit, Power Princess and her sisters could surely be the ones still drinking long before anyone else could keep up. Power Princess places her hands on her hips, calling out the All-Gog, telling him that he is the greatest of fools. A deep bellowing howl can be heard, and the All-Gog says that it is a bold statement for anyone who is already halfway down his gullet. Power Princess holds out her hands, telling him, I was, but it would seem that I left something behind." As the All-Gog stops for a moment, he feels a rumbling in his belly, and then suddenly a gauntlet shoots out, and Power Princess tells him that these were forged with utopian Uru and bound to her soul by astral chains. In other words, they come when their mistress calls. The All-Gog falls to his knees, trying to hold his entrails together, but Power Princess puts back on the gauntlets and tells him to get up. She wants him on his feet so that she can end him. Later that night, Power Princess looks at her garden atop the Statue of Liberty, looking at more statues. Not only is she the strongest that there is, but her people also knew the ancient secret of turning flesh into stone. But Power Princess finds herself bored. It's been almost an hour since she spilled anyone's blood in anger. She could call on Hyperion, a sultry whisper is all it takes, and he'll come streaking in like a big, lusty, muscle-bound warhead. But part of her fears that it'll be one of those nights where he would drone on about the children or American history or the other things that are equally useless to her. Sometimes it's enough to make her miss the old days. Namor, now there was a man. You simply haven't lived until you've made love on the sea floor while sharks feed on the Nazis you've just torn to pieces. But as Power Princess reminisces about the old days, a thunderous crack-a-coom can be heard, and the princess knows that this is not just any lightning strike. She heads into her armory, digging through her weapons, thinking that the All-Gog hadn't been seen since he felled the last of his sworn enemies years ago. And it would seem that there's no coincidence that he returns now. There's a restless ghost stirring somewhere within the heavens. Where else to begin her search other than the great graveyard of the gods, where the Man-Gog became the final All-Father? Where begun the Ragnarok wars that left the heavens hollow, where she salvaged the last piece of a broken bridge to forge a rainbow axe, in a realm once known as Asgard. Within moments, Power Princess is taken away to the ruins of Asgard with her axe, and when she arrives, something shoots past her. She looks around to see an object floating, and it would be a man who seems a bit out of place. She asks who he is, and the man, known as Thor, tells her, "I'm not so certain anymore. I only know that I am sober for the first time in more eons than I can recall, and verily, I do not like it. I do not have any memories, but this feels wrong. This is not the world that I know." Power Princess asks if this Thor is the one who caused the unnatural thunderstorm, and Thor tells her, "'Tis not the storm that is unnatural. 'Tis everything else in this realm. I'm finally remembering who I was, only to find the rest of the world has forgotten itself or disappeared like everyone that I have ever. Wait, who are you? And how did you come by that axe?" Power Princess throws the axe. Thank the heavens. She was worried that he'd be peaceful. Her name is Power Princess, and let her show him why. The object swirling around, Thor deflects the oncoming axe, and he looks at it, asking, "Beloved Bifrost, what in the name of Odin has happened to you? What happened to Asgard, the golden halls, the long ships sailing the stars? Not even Valhalla remains. What of father, of my mother?" Power Princess charges in, punching Thor in the chest hard enough to make him stagger. But as the flying object forces Power Princess back, it gives time for Thor to let out a thunderous belch. She shouts that she lost her people too, but he doesn't hear her whining about it so loud that she can shake the stars. Instead, she found a new home, new people, one worth fighting for. And fight she did. You know why no one missed the gods? Because of her. She punches again, shouting that she is the last daughter of Utopia, who did what no other god or goddess ever could. She actually earned the right to be worshipped. So on your knees, Asgardian, and pray to your princess. But before she can deliver the final blow, an object shoots through, hitting Power Princess in the face as she asks, "What is that blasted thing? It felt like Uru." Thor catches it and holds it. "I remember. It was called Mjolnir, the Hammer of Heaven, and I am its master, the Lord of Living Thunder, the blood son of the All-Father Odin, the mighty Prince of Asgard." Power Princess comes running in. "Enough talking! Show me who you are with punches!" But Thor begins to fade away. "I remember everything. I remember thee." However, it is too late, and with another thunderous roar, Thor is gone. Later, Power Princess gathers the rest of the Squadron Supreme, telling them that she has searched the ruins of Asgard and there was no sign of this man, except his last words are still echoing in her ears, in the ether. Have any of you heard of a team called the Avengers? Now for a side story, giving us a little more context. It begins in Iceland, the age of Vikings. Then, it was the night of bloodshed, and for the first time in more centuries than he could count, Thor was sober. He watched the young Princess Zarda, before she became known as the Power Princess, lob off her first head. All Thor did was sit and drink. Then in Berlin, 1945, Princess Zarda battled against the Nazis and celebrated with the American soldiers when they claimed the head of Adolf Hitler. Thor was there, sitting and drinking. But something was off. Zarda was there to stop Gore, the God Butcher, and his God Bomb. There were versions of Zarda that came from all across time. However, the thing was, it shouldn't have been her. It should have been Thor, and now Thor remembers. Thor can taste the storm ahead, and it tastes like hail and pain and raging Uru. All the things that he will rain down upon his enemies and upon the mysterious thieves that have stolen his life. This storm tastes like revenge. It tastes like fire. And at that moment, Phoenix appears before him, stating that she's going to take a guess, and the world's not exactly the way he remembers it, right? Well, he can call her Phoenix, and her friends can help with that. And now we move to another side story in this universe that was created. We're gonna find out what happened to Gwen Stacy, and for those who don't know, she's a superhero known as Ghost Spider, also known as Spider-Gwen, also known as Spider-Woman. That in itself takes a lot of explaining, and maybe we'll get to that in another story, but for the sake of today, she's known as Night-Gwen. In the office of Dr. Gwen Stacy in Ravencroft Asylum, Gwen sits looking over her files on Bullseye, thinking back to something her mother once told her. It is the duty of the well to take care of the sick. Gwen's mother was a wise woman, and she knew something that so many supposed professionals overlook in their need to seem superior. One of the most important tools in helping others is to meet them at their level. And after watching her mother handle a patient who was ready to kill, and seeing her talk them out of it, Gwen knew what she wanted. To help people as they wanted to be treated, not as you want to be treated. Gwen sits back in her chair, stating that they will be starting an assessment in a few days, and until then, try to practice mindfulness. The guard picks Bullseye up out of his chair, telling him to move it, and then Dr. Stravinsky comes in, stating that it would seem that she is making friends. Gwen laughs, stating that everywhere she goes, really, there are the goblin files. Everything that he needs is right here. Dr. Stravinsky clears his throat. Right. Also, do you have any dinner plans this evening? Gwen gets a text and tells him, actually, I already have plans for the night. Perhaps another time, Doctor. Later at the diner downtown, she says that if she keeps feeding her, there won't be any room for dessert. And they are supposed to go to that fancy rolled up ice cream place. Misty Knight laughs, spoon-feeding Gwen, stating that they'll get to it. But what kind of friend would she be if she didn't insist on at least trying this? Gwen takes a bite, telling her that it is incredible, but she seems a bit tense. Is everything okay, Misty? Misty sighs, stating that she remembers the Ricochet killer, right? DC's least favorite son interfered before they could catch him. Gwen says that they both know that she was the next target, and if Nighthawk didn't step in, she would have been killed. Misty tells her that as a DCPD detective, she'd be much happier if she got the chance to book him herself, instead of desperately trying to salvage her case after the Cape's meddling interference. Gwen takes Misty's hand, telling her that she knows it's frustrating when the Capes get involved, but she would be lying if she said that she wasn't glad that she's safe now. Well, safer. Misty calls her the check and tells her, still, there's something wrong with Capes that can't be fixed. And as she turns back, she sees Gwen looking off and asks if everything is okay. Gwen thinks to herself, she hates to keep secrets from Misty, but... At that moment, Misty's phone goes off and she answers it, her tone changing as she says that she understands. Gwen asks for a rain check on dessert. Huh? And as Misty takes off for work, Gwen heads back to the Night Cave to do some research when she overhears on the radio that a murder has just recently occurred. She suits up, quietly sneaking into the residence of Nick Manilis. However, for Gwen, this isn't just a random victim. Nick was a cop who retired after the case went bad and he was injured. 25 years on the DCPD, handpicked by her father for his unit. He was there for her when her father passed. This was more personal. She looks at the window and notices peculiar scratch marks. And just then the door opens and Misty tells Gwen to freeze. But Gwen jumps out the window before Misty could even get close. She can't let her friend catch her as a cape. Later, Gwen cross-references all of the cases that she's seen that had those carvings, noticing a pattern with how all the victims died and how often there was hair left behind. She thinks on it and then it hits her. She says to herself, no. A while back, when she was at Capital State University, she had a professor by the name of Miles Warren. He became obsessed with her, even started propositioning her. She put up with it for a while, but eventually she went to her advisor to explain what was happening. Instead of transferring her to another class, the advisor confronted Warren. Even her friend Flash Thompson wanted to knock some sense into him. After he lost his job, all of his credibility, and his respect, Miles Warren lost his humanity and became the creature known as Jackal. He never blamed her. In fact, he just got more obsessed with her. He was later captured and put into Ravencroft, but a riot broke out and he managed to escape. And with not much to go on, Gwen rides over to the old CSU building in hopes of finding something. And as she finds some of the same fibers as the previous cases, lightning strikes and Jackal says, "Finally you came! What took so long?" Jackal jumps down laughing. "I know you felt it, the connection that we have." Gwen asks him what connection, they're strangers. But Jackal asks her, "Why continue the charade? I know that you're Gwen. How else could I have taken care of your problems? We were meant to be together." Gwen tells him no, he killed people who were close to her. He's sick. He needs help. Jackal looks at her. "Those were obstacles, and I've gotten rid of them. Well, there is one left, but don't worry. She's next." As Jackal charges in, Gwen dodges, but there's something different about the Jackal. When they fought before, he would fight like an animal, savage attacks with no strategy. But his reactions aren't instinctual like they were before. They're calculated. He's countering her moves as if he has years of combat training. Jackal jumps up and waits, and Gwen thinks to herself that he's watching her, studying her. Well, then it's time to use somebody else's playbook. As he leaps back down towards her, she kicks him back, firing her grappling gun into his shoulder, retracting the line, launching herself feet first into his face. He rips the line, falling back, telling her, "Do not make me hurt you! All I want to do is take care of you." He lunges one more time, but Gwen uses it to counter and slam him into the ground, ripping off the mask. And with it off, she sees that it's Flash Thompson. "Wait! I did this for you! Back then I thought that there was something wrong with me. I practically begged to be with you, and nothing. And then I realized it was her. Jackal made you afraid. So I knew I had to take care of him so that you could finally feel safe. There's just one more thing standing in our way of being together, and that's Misty." Gwen leans in, telling him that she is sorry. "Just relax. Shh." And she sticks Flash with a needle. Gwen takes off her mask as he passes out. "I've got you now. You're gonna be okay, I promise." Later at Ravencroft, Gwen sees Flash, stating that they're going to help him, but he needs to meet her halfway. He slams his fist. "I am meeting you all the way! We can be together. You don't have to be Nightbird anymore." As Flash is struggling, the guards get up and Gwen tells him it's okay. Flash is agitated and clearly delusional. Her presence is making things worse. She'll submit the paperwork to have him transferred to Dr. Jenkins. And when she finishes up and gets ready to go home, she sees Misty Knight is outside waiting. She tells her that she didn't expect to see her for a few days, but Misty tells her that her case got wrapped up quicker than she thought, figuring that it was time to cash in on that rain check. As Misty hands Gwen a bag, Gwen says that she didn't. She did. And once the two finish their rolled up ice cream, they get into Misty's car, and Misty says that after the last few weeks, they both learned to break, huh? Gwen sits back and lets out a sigh, stating that she managed to get the night off. Her phone is on silent. Misty then asks, "Where to, Dr. Stacy?" And Gwen says, "Wherever the road takes them, Detective Knight." And that concludes the story of Nightbird and the story of how Gwen Stacy acts in this universe. It's interesting to see Flash Thompson, Warren Miles, and even Misty all different in this universe, just like every other character, and I really did enjoy it. Now let me know in the comments down below. Do you enjoy Power Princess? Did you enjoy Nightbird? What do you enjoy about these particular issues? And don't forget to check out next week as we are coming to the conclusion of the entire Heroes Reborn series. We're at the end here, guys. At the end of the road. I hope you guys enjoyed it the whole time, and don't forget to stick around on this channel. Every day we bring you new comic book videos explaining storylines going on in the world of comics, and you can find me on podcasts like every other day of the week at the Comicstorian Podcast Network. Thank you guys so much, and don't forget to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Comicstorian, where you can get early access, ad-free versions, and videos that aren't even coming to the YouTube, and you can vote on videos coming to our channel. Once again, guys, just thank you. Seriously, thank you for watching all the video. I appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.